Welcome to the Less Glove, More Fist podcast.
With me, Coach Bronson.
And me, Coach Nat.
Where we peel back the curtains and reveal the truth behind hot topics in health and fitness.
This is Keto Fit Life.
Unfiltered. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Less Glove, More Fist podcast with me, Coach Bronson.
And me, Coach Nat.
Today, we are going to talk about something kind of fun. I feel like we talked about what is the goal, what is the purpose of us having this conversation today, and it's about embracing an identity.
Yes,
right?
One of our favorite topics.
And I think it's an identity that can help you kind of hone in on some of the things that you can do to improve your progress, sustain your progress, and I don't know, what's another way to describe it?
Really become a freaking superhero, honestly.
Yeah. Okay.
Like your own superhero.
Oh, I like that you said superhero. Yeah.
I think it's a superpower, what we're about to talk about today.
Because superheroes are different.
And superheroes step into a new identity, and when they put on the identity of their superpowers,
she's making me geek out now. My heart is fluttering. She's using terminology that I can totally buy into.
And we didn't even talk about this in advance, people. I think I'm making this man fall in love with me right now.
Oh my God, we're talking about superheroes. You guys don't know it, but I'm a superhero. And so is Coach Nat, because we have bought into this identity. And what we're going to talk about today is the idea that health and fitness, the pursuit of health and fitness, is counterculture right now. And if you are somebody who is in the minority of trying to improve your health and fitness by doing things the opposite of what society is telling you to do, then you are extraordinary.
Yes.
You are stepping. We want to give you some ideas and help you wrap your head around the idea that being counterculture is what you need in order to be healthy.
Absolutely, 100%. And when you can shift your mindset around what it means to be countercultural, that you're not weird or wrong or, I don't know, what's another way?
Making a mistake.
Yeah,
right. This is something that, okay, guys, just personal experience. I've been carnivore for 4+ years. I've been health and fitness coach for 12 years. There are times where I look at some of the things that I'm doing nutrition wise, exercise wise, that are different than a majority of the people that I've trained from, or that I've learned from, the people that I've gotten information from years ago. So there's some things that I do now in my fitness routine when I'm working with clients, and the fitness routines that I have that are very different. And they go against the culture of what I was originally taught health and fitness was. And there are times personally where I catch myself, I'll catch my eyes, my own glance in the mirror and look at myself in the face and be like, is this really like this just sometimes like, it's like a step in faith, a leap of faith, even though I know from my experience that it's not. But because the information and the processing and methods and concept have been so ingrained in me, even now there are times where I second guess. I'm like,
absolutely,
it's really hard to
He'll
go
come
there.
to me. Y'all get to see the Bronson that is hyper confident, like in front of the camera, sharing with you what you need to be doing. He appears to not have any questions about what he's sharing, 100% in his power. And I get to see the other side where he's preparing to share this information. And sometimes there's a hesitancy because he knows that it may be received. He's thinking about how this will be received.
Right.
And not only by those who need to hear it, and that's what really propels him forward to share it, even if he thinks he might ruffle some feathers, because he's also thinking about those who have become very large, not only in the mainstream, but those even within the ketogenic space, within the fitness industry, and thinking about how they will respond to it. And here's the thing, people, this relates to you as much as it relates to coaches. If we have coaches listening to us, this really relates to professionals and coaches in the space.
Absolutely. Speak
if we are shutting ourselves up because for fear of what the masses are going to think, or the traditional paradigm, as we're going to be talking about today, then we are doing a disservice to those who we could be serving. There are people that need to hear this message, and the more of us that there are in the space sharing this message, the better.
Right.
We have something to say, and we cannot keep shutting ourselves up.
Yeah, so, we want to become the majority. That's the goal.
That's the goal.
I don't want to be I don't want to be a minority. Some things about that I can't change.
Although I will say, just knowing what industry does to things, I don't really ever want to be in the majority.
Well, true. Well, that's a deep conversation.
When it gets into the majority, we've all seen what's been happening with keto and paleo and all of the things that
absorbed and assimilated, right?
The more they become mainstream, the more watered down, the more the less helpful and healthy they become.
Yeah.
And now, I was just having this conversation with someone the other day, how unfortunate it is that there are now so many voices and so many conflicting opinions out there that people are confused. They get into this space and they have no idea what to do because there's just too much bickering and arguing about all the ways that this is right and this is wrong.
Right. Yeah, no, I absolutely understand. And, we had this conversation because I don't know what the timing is going to be on the video that I did the review from Mike. If that's when that's coming out versus when this is coming out.
Oh, right.
But it's really hard because one of our goals, and you guys have heard us talk about this, is we want to provide context. We've talked about this before.
Figure this out for yourself.
Right. We are not stuck to a method or a protocol. We look at each person and we try to follow principles and concepts that we know work.
Yes.
We've taken all the information that we've had access to, all the experience that we've got access to, and we kind of say, okay, what are the things that are working for people in these different scenarios? And then we try to fit those solutions to those scenarios.
Exactly.
And it's not the same for everybody.
No.
So understanding that, if you want, I'm plugging us right now, right?
Okay.
Because I want people to understand that if you want to filter through the noise, we are unfiltered.
Yes.
There's a play on words. No, but if you want help filtering through the noise, if you want help trying to understand how 8 different people can say 8 different things and all be right,
and how to know what's right for you,
and figure out what the hell is going on, and how are there 8 different doctors online who all have hundreds of thousands of followers who all say different things.
Yeah.
And how to make that work. That's what we're here for. If you want to understand the context as it applies to your life, listen to this podcast, follow us on Instagram, follow us on YouTube. That's what we do. And
if you need more help deciphering and really getting to a place that ties in so well with the topic of today's conversation, because what we do as coaches with our private clients, we want you to not need us anymore.
You need to graduate from us.
We want you to graduate, and we want to bring in someone who is just as confused as you are and help them graduate as well, because what we want you to do is to become your own advocate, become your own superhero, stand in your power, and know exactly what you need to do for you in any given situation.
I'm going to take you one step further. I'm going to ante up.
Okay.
We don't want you to just stand in your own power and be your own superhero. We want you to be an example for other people.
Absolutely.
So that they can become their own superheroes.
Ripple effect.
This is not about us trying to get huge. Yeah, we want to get huge. We'd love to have huge followings and grow business and do all this kind of stuff.
We want the gains.
Yeah, we want the gains. But what really drives me is seeing other people. You guys, I'm about to get fired up.
Each one teach
Seeing other people become coaches.
Yes.
And seeing other people start forming support groups and getting a Facebook group, or, hey, so-and-so asked me this question, and thanks to your information, I was able to answer it for them.
There's the key, is not jumping onto this internet bandwagon of creating a course and, having your method or whatever, but learning how to filter through the noise and decipher the right formula for you, and then going on to help other people do the same.
Right. So the idea of being counterculture is the basis of all of that. We can't be special if we're all trying to be the same.
I love that.
Right? And society right now, in case you haven't been paying attention, society right now, the number one initiative in the world is to make everybody freaking the same.
Stepford wives.
Right? I'm not going to get into it too much, but women are men, men are women, kids can be either or, like there's so much, right? We all need to eat the same food that's provided for us by the government. We all need to be the same, just So the idea.
Okay, I don't know if I want to say that. I mean, it's unfiltered, but I was going to say this. I think this is happening because of this this impending crumbling of the paradigm.
Yeah.
That
100%.
Now that we have all this challenging the paradigm,
absolutely,
there is this fear
amongst the elite and amongst the business and the corporate and the people at the top who are like, we're going to lose everything.
Yep.
We talked about it in our other episode a little bit. It's the idea that decentralization is a thing. Mm-hmm. Technology, where we are in society right now, we have, guys, listen to me very carefully. You have more opportunities to gain your self-control and independence from everything
than ever
before.
Everything at your fingertips.
Everything you have in order to become completely independent, self-reliant, physically, mentally, and emotionally, and intellectually.
And financially.
Is all right there in front of you. And the people at the top are fucking scared.
Yes.
That's where a lot of this stuff is coming from.
And that's what we're seeing. All of this trying to silence anybody who has an opinion that is counter to the norm. We see websites being shut down. Now this is why a lot of people in our space are leaving Facebook. They're leaving
Here's a good example. Just a super simple example. I tried that post that I made today with all the influencers who are in shape, talking about the 5 tips on the things you need to do to get in shape and healthy and fitness and health and whatever.
It got flagged by Instagram.
No, it didn't get flagged. But in tagging everybody, I had to go to the website for Dr. Baker to find his Instagram handle because it wasn't coming up in search.
So you couldn't tag him?
I could not tag him. I literally could not tag him because it wouldn't come up in search.
The censorship is so real now, y'all.
It was ridiculous.
First of all, I would say if you are a person being silenced or censored by any platform.
Good job.
Congratulations.
Good freaking job. I can't wait. I can't wait till I get big enough and loud enough and people are like, oh my God, it'd be freaking awesome.
Yes. We're looking forward to the day.
Side note, that's kind of like, somebody told me a long time ago, I was in some training somewhere, leadership training. She's punching her mic over there. Some kind of training years ago. And the guy giving the class asked, how much taxes do you pay in a year? And I was like, I don't remember what the number was. We said, what if you had to pay $1 million in taxes every year? What would you think about that? And everybody in the room was like, fuck no. I don't want to pay $1 million in taxes every year.
I'd be like, that must mean I'm doing damn good.
And none of us were in that mindset. And he's like, well, how much would you have to be bringing in to have to pay $1 million in taxes? And we're like, oh, snap. So it's something that on the surface seems bad.
Yep.
I'm getting banned. I'm getting shadow banned. I'm getting kicked off this platform. But that means you're doing something right.
You are getting the attention of someone that is not happy with what you're doing, which is a good thing.
Kind of what we want.
This is what we're talking about. This is what it means to be countercultural.
And having this is a perfect thing. Having the mindset that it's okay. Oh my God, something just clicked in my head. Having the mindset that it's okay to have haters.
That's actually a good thing.
Is actually a good thing. It's okay. And I'll tell you right now, guys, it's
more than okay
to have haters.
It's the goal.
It's the goal. And it's not that and now don't get confused we're trying to say things specifically to be controversial, specifically to be incendiary. and spew vitriol.
Don't be an asshole
and hate.
just to get haters.
Right. There are plenty of them already out there. You don't need to be one.
Yep.
And that goes into some other stuff we'll talk about where don't be over preachy and keep your mouth shut. Do the work, don't preach.
We will get to the how-tos for you all about how to step into this identity, embrace it, and be able to navigate.
This is going to be a fun talk.
Your journey.
Oh my God.
In a society that is not living the way you're seeking to live.
And that's it. Living the way that you want to live.
Yep.
Because the way you want to live has nothing to do with how anybody else is living.
Whew.
You do not have to conform to anybody else's standard of living. Period. That just suck it up, define what you want to do and how you want to live, and go for it. Right? So talking about what the norm is. Okay, we did a little bit of research. We pulled up some numbers and we got some things to take a look at because we want you guys to understand how different you are. Okay? And how different you're becoming, because you may fall into one of these numbers that we're going to talk about, but you are trying to get out of it.
The goal is to not be a statistic.
The goal is to not be in these numbers, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're looking for. So when we talk about some numbers, the majority of people, we're going to save the 71% one to last.
Okay.
Because I think that's more impactful.
To me, that just brought the whole message home.
So just a couple things. 25% of Americans don't do any exercise at all.
Not active at all.
Right.
Not structured exercise.
Right. Just go for a walk.
They are not at all active. So we're talking
completely
purely sedentary.
We said that
at the same time.
Jinx? Is it a jinx? 25% of Americans. Okay, now take that in consideration with 45% of Americans are obese. And that number is rising at a significant rate.
Yes. And if you include that with overweight, we're talking 70% of Americans are overweight.
That's crazy. Which is even crazier. 70% of Americans are overweight because that is ridiculous.
Think about that when we say the 71%.
So 1 in 3.
Which is 38%.
38%, which is technically a little bit more than 1 in 3 if we do the actual math. But 40%, almost 40% of the U.S. population is pre-diabetic, guys.
Oh.
40% of the U.S. population is pre-diabetic. If you throw on top of that another 10% plus that is actually diabetic, we're looking at half of the... 1 out of every 2 people that you know
half of the U.S. population
is diabetic or pre-diabetic. Half of the U.S. population.
And I would go one step further to say even more, so more than half.
Oh, that's not even including people that aren't reported.
Is heading in that direction.
Correct.
You're just not clinically pre-diabetic yet.
You haven't been diagnosed. So I think the numbers are probably very, very much higher.
Absolutely.
Very much higher. I was going to go somewhere with that. 50% of Americans are pre-diabetic or diabetic. And we didn't even look up, because we just did this quick little search before we started the podcast. We didn't look up percentage of Americans with dementia, Alzheimer's, cardiovascular disease, autoimmune issues, all of the
goes on. Yep.
Gut issues, diverticulitis, IBS, Crohn's, PCOS, fertility. Arthritis, fertility issues. We didn't get into all that stuff. So all of these things are all lifestyle.
Absolutely.
So this is what we're talking about, guys. This is the norm. Oh, I know where I was going to go with that. Explain to me how this is why, I'll just say, this is why we need to be counterculture.
Right,
because everything that we've been told, culture, the society we live in today is creating these issues.
And if you think about it, one of the biggest things I see with clients is this not wanting to go against the norm,
grain.
Right?
Don't go against the grain.
And wanting to fit in. There's the desire to fit in versus standing out. And what other people are going to think. and all of that. Let me ask you, if the majority represents all of these statistics we just shared, diabetic, pre-diabetic, obese, inactive, is that what you're seeking to emulate? You're seeking to emulate what the majority is doing. You don't want to go against what the majority. You don't want to ruffle feathers. You don't want to worry about what other people are going to say. That means that you're desiring to be in this.
It's a choice.
Population of people, this majority of people. You want to be a part of the sick majority.
Right.
That's what you're saying when you say you don't want to be different. That's not my goal.
I want to be different.
I want to be different.
I want to be very
different. I don't want
to
be a part of the sick
Guys,
majority.
if you haven't noticed, just talking about embracing this identity of being different, okay? If you haven't noticed, the joy that I get when I talk about the fact that I'm 50 years old, I'm a grandfather, and I will take on anybody at any age, let's go. And I'm not talking about fighting, but the physical activity, the ability to do things, my function of my body, my flexibility, my strength, my movement, all of the things, because I want to be different. I don't want to be the 50-year-old who you look at walking down the street and think they're 60 or 70 or 80. I don't want to be 60 or 70 or 80 and be in a walker or a wheelchair or even need a freaking cane.
Coach Bronson has been doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu again for the last, month and a half or so.
Yeah, love it.
And last night he said to me, everything on my body hurts.
Almost everything.
And I love it.
And I love it. Yes. Yeah, I mean, my training the last couple of weeks has been probably the hardest training that I've had in a long time.
Look, when your body is sore, right, because the DOMs were setting in from his leg day and from 3 days of BJJ this week, and when the DOMs are setting in, does it not just, it reminds you that you're alive.
Yep.
It's a feeling in your body. You're getting connected to your body and feeling alive.
You know what I think?
What?
Is I think to myself when I'm feeling this, I wish everyone could experience this. Because not enough people do.
Yeah.
Not enough people understand the mindset that it takes to enjoy discomfort.
That right there is the banner statement. Embrace discomfort. And everything will open up to you.
Oh my God. The counterculture right now, the culture, everything in society
is about more comfortable,
convenience and comfort space. And speed and oh my God, yes, absolutely.
Yep, pad the walls. You might as well. Would you rather just be in a straight jacket with padded walls because
as long as there's
protecting
Netflix,
you?
As long as there's Netflix,
comfortable, safe,
and easy.
Yep, convenient.
Yep. You know,
microwave culture.
This is something that I don't know if it's actually true. If you're a listener and you raise chickens, let me know if this is true. Okay, but I heard a long time ago. This might have been when I was a kid. Okay, the story that if you're raising chickens or any bird in general, and it's time for the eggs to hatch, that if you assist the baby bird hatching the egg, they will die.
Yes.
I don't know if this is true. I just have heard that.
And the
analog, the analogy has always been stuck in my brain. The idea that the struggle for life is what creates and enables life.
Yes. Yes, I do remember that the bird has to fight its way out of the shell.
Yeah, in order for it to survive.
Yep. But think about butterflies, right? Caterpillars cannot become butterflies if somebody were to cut the cocoon open for them.
Yeah, right.
They're not going to
go through the process of change and come out of it. Yeah,
of emerging and trying to struggle out of that. That's what creates the wings. It's when you think about it like that. You know what? That makes me feel like a superhero myself because for those who don't know, I was extremely premature as a baby. So I was like 6 or 8 weeks early. And I came out jaundiced. I had
I did too. I had jaundice as a baby.
Yeah, my lungs weren't developed. I mean, I was tiny. My dad could hold me in one hand.
Wow.
I was fighting for my life to get here, to stay here. So my life is a miracle. And for me to poison my body, poison myself over time, slowly over time, with toxic substances would be, it's like a slap in the face.
Yeah.
To God, to nature, to my parents, to, to everything that had to happen for me to have this life.
Right.
I love Gary Vee because he talks about the fact that it is a miracle.
Absolutely.
It is a miracle to be who you are, to be existing where we are right now.
The number of things that had to happen for us to become who we are, where we are right now. Yeah. So those are some of the things. What was the 71%? We got off track with the percentages.
Oh boy. Okay.
This is the eye-opening one, guys. So we just talked about how all of these numbers are showing that a vast, vast, vast majority of people in the United States are stage. I got to learn. I keep doing that. In the United States are obese, unhealthy, unwell, don't exercise, whatever.
Right. And I will say that although there are definitely countries that are more healthy than the U.S., I would say that a lot of this applies to worldwide population. Okay. So remembering that, we said 25% of Americans are not active at all. 30% of Americans, we didn't share this one yet, 30% of Americans report that they do resistance training 2 or more times a week.
Yep.
And this is strength training specifically, only 30%. Right. And then keeping in mind, as we said, about the 10% diabetic, almost 40% pre-diabetic, 45% obese. 71% of Americans, this is so America.
This is so America.
This is so America.
America.
Self-report as having good or excellent health. I wonder how they are defining that.
Yeah. 70% of Americans are obese, overweight or obese. 50% of Americans are pre-diabetic or diabetic, but 71% of Americans think they're healthy. That's crazy. That's crazy.
That is delusional, is what that is.
Absolutely, because here's the deal. What is health?
So why would, not only the fact that Americans tend to be a little arrogant but why would,
deservedly so, we're the best country in the world.
Why would the perception be that they're healthy when the stats clearly show that we're not?
Yeah.
Well, there's a few reasons.
There's a few reasons. Let's start. Okay, so let's talk about what is the message around health.
The societal message around health.
Not just what health is, but also how to attain it.
Right. So what would be leading people astray to think that they're healthy when they're not? Right.
Because here's the deal. They may not be healthy, but they may think I'm doing all of the things I need to be doing to be healthy.
I'm doing everything the government has told me is healthy, so
I'm doing everything right, so it must be fine.
And you know what? I could raise my hand there because before I started this lifestyle, I thought I was being healthy. Yeah, there were all kinds of things I thought I was doing that I thought were healthy.
Sure, absolutely.
And they were wrecking my health.
100%.
It had me on multiple medications for chronic illnesses.
Pooping my ass off. All day long, every day. Couldn't do anything. Horrible. Absolutely horrible. When we talk about the societal message of health, the number one, I don't know if it's the number one thing, but the biggest thing to remember, guys, is that right now, when we talk about health in society today, whether it's a doctor, whether it's a fitness influencer, whether it's a magazine, a TV show, or whatever else, they're just concerned with how skinny you are. Mm. That is the overriding, probably number one thing at the top of the list, outside of us weirdos who understand what health and fitness is really all about. If you go to any random person on the street and ask them, what does it mean to be healthy? Probably they're going to think about 8 or 9 size. Out of 10 of them are going to say not being fat.
It's going to be, and it's body size. Yeah. It is not about not having body fat.
Yeah, well, that's a whole nother.
It is about not appearing fat in size, size of your body, because they will look at someone skinny and imagine and assume that person is healthy. But we know many people, we've worked with many people who had an astronomical amount of body fat on their body and they looked skinny.
Yes. And that's something to keep an eye on, guys, is that your mindset? What is your mindset on health? How often are you looking at an influencer and asking if they're healthy or are they skinny?
Or do they appear fit?
Right.
Do they appear fit because they have muscles or they have the proportions of a fitness model, and you have no idea if they're healthy.
Right.
They may not be healthy at all.
Yeah.
But we are associating health with the way somebody looks.
Yeah. And again, there's a balance there, and that's understanding what that's about, because your looks do have an indicator. They do provide an indicator on your level of health.
Right.
And there is a difference. I would rather look fit than look skinny.
Absolutely.
Agreed. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on when we talk about context where you're getting your information. And right now, society's information, if the message is about losing fat, listen to somebody else.
Losing weight.
Yeah.
And usually the message is about losing weight.
Yeah. That's true. You're right.
Usually
you're right. There is a distinction.
Yes.
A distinction. Most often, from a societal standpoint, in institutionalized messaging, let's call it that,
yep,
it's about weight loss.
It is.
Yeah, not fat loss. Because they don't even want to make that distinction. Because I guess if they make that distinction between weight and fat, then people start questioning, well, wait, what about muscle?
Right.
How does that play in?
The only time I see anybody talking about fat loss versus weight loss is if they're into fitness and they understand the difference they're talking about body composition.
Right.
But there's still the grand majority is not even concerned with body composition at all.
Right. It's just fat loss. Just lose weight.
Just lose
weight. You're right. Yeah. The scale. All right. So that's one of the things to remember is form over function is what the current majority message is all about. How do you look, not how well does your body work?
Yep. And this is something to consider when you're thinking about who you're looking at. Right? Like you said, there's a combination here. Like, do you want to listen to somebody who is not living the lifestyle themselves and preaching it but not following it and probably doesn't even look the part? Or do you want to listen to somebody who looks the part, and so you just assume that they know what they're talking about because they look the part?
Right. It's hard to tell.
There's a gray area in the middle here. Let's not base everything off of what somebody looks like.
Yeah, it is really hard to know where to get your information sometimes, because you can't do it all on looks, but you can't do it all on information either.
Right.
So you kind of have to.
This is what we mean by filtering through.
Right. Okay, something else we got here. What about the message on diet? Things that we should be doing to be healthy?
So unfortunately, the paradigm, the majority, is still spreading the message of standard American diet.
Yeah.
And it went from the food guide pyramid scheme to
My Plate.
Which is really no different. It's just pictorially represented differently. And we're still being taught that carbs should be the majority of the diet.
It's worse than that. We're not even being taught that carbs should be the majority of the diet. In many textbooks and many of the institutionalized training programs for trainers, nutritionists, things like that, it's being taught that carbs are the preferred source of fuel for the human body.
Right.
Not even just that we need to have more carbs, that carbs are what we need to have, but that our body works better on carbs.
That is what they're using to justify or to
the amount of carbs.
Right. Why they say that we need to be consuming mostly carbs.
Right.
Because they believe, and this is, a big part of this is that it takes science, 20 years to catch up. So textbooks, didn't you just tell me the other day that we have a textbook we can look forward to?
Oh my God,
out soon?
So guys, if you don't follow Dr. Cybus, the Carb Addiction Doc on Instagram, it's at Carb Addiction. Is it the Carb Addiction Doc?
Carb Addiction Doc.
Just Carb Addiction. Okay, so at Carb Addiction Doc on Instagram. Dr. Cybus is a great guy. We did a video interview this week.
His YouTube is amazing.
His YouTube is amazing. He's got hundreds of thousands of followers. He has been working with Professor Tim Noakes and a bunch of other people. He told me apparently over the past 3 years, they've been working on developing a textbook to be used in higher education institutions.
Finally,
that will basically be a general compendium of low carb ketogenic nutrition.
And here's the thing, guys. This will be the first one.
Yeah, I don't know any other ones.
So when you're thinking about, okay, I really want you to think about this in the context of what you're hearing from who has been the authority
right
throughout history, really. And unfortunately, in the past, the paradigm has taught us that we shop out all of our personal decisions related to health and fitness to authorities outside of ourselves, that we are not the authority, that doctors have the authority, that personal trainers have the authority. And you have to ask yourself, where were they educated? How did they receive the information that they have? Because sometimes I say we all know, and I realize we don't all know. But doctors are not educated on nutrition.
Nope.
They get like half a semester on...
like 4 hours.
On human nutrition?
4 hours. It's like one class.
And we have to ask ourselves, as Bronson just explained, what do you think they're being taught in that one class that they get in med school that they got however many years ago, in the 8 years it took them to become a doctor, right? Because it's not a couple of years to become a doctor. So in this long education, they're getting a few hours from an institution. Where did the institution get the information that is being shared with the doctors about nutrition? It's not up to date, guys.
It's not. I'll tell you right now, and if you're listening to your doctor and getting nutrition advice from your doctor, you need to stop.
Whew.
Your doctor does not know squat about nutrition. Find someone who is knowledgeable in the current science that is not being provided by the institutionalized organizations that are basically bought out and controlled by big food, big pharma, and everything else.
And if you haven't listened to our episode on the science and thinking critically about whether or not you need a study to prove something, please go back and listen to that episode. Because if we're waiting for studies to prove that low carb and ketogenic diets are the way to go, or meat based, we're going to be waiting a long time. Yeah. Your children or grandchildren might get it by then, but
maybe. And this is so just as an example of the time frame. Okay, Professor Noakes was taken to court. All that stuff that was almost 10 years ago.
I don't know if y'all even know that.
Right. So Professor Noakes, as a doctor, basically he's from South Africa. He was basically taken to court by the South Africa. I don't know all the details of the names of the organizations or whatever. Was it Australia? I thought he was from South Africa.
I could be mixing it up because of Low Carb Down Under, and I get confused because he presents there. He presents there
at Low Carb Down Under all the time. Yeah. Okay, so I think he's from South Africa. I'm pretty sure it was. I'm going to take
your word for it.
If it's not, then I'm wrong. Then it's Australia. But either one. He was taken to court basically because he was treating his patients with a low carb diet. And the national organizations for health and medicine and whatever else.
You are correct, sir. He's South African. And I apologize to all Australians and South Africans for how frequently they are mixed up with one another.
Oh, because of their accents.
Because of the accent.
So I guess it was the South African Medical Association or whatever. It's like the AMA, like the American Medical Association in America would be for South Africa. Basically, they took him to court. It was like a 2 or 3 year thing. He had to go multiple times. And that was almost 10 years ago. He basically won the course.
The Health Professions Council of South Africa,
there you
HPCSA.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, he basically had to go to court to basically prove that he wasn't performing malpractice by telling his patients to not eat carbs. 3 years in court. Now, the good thing about that, and this is what Dr. Sivas told me, is that all the time he spent developing the content to defend his position is what's leading to this textbook. Right? He basically said, okay, you bring your science, I'll bring my science, and we can see who wins, and he won.
Yep.
And that's kind of where the basis for the idea of this textbook is coming from. So if you're not familiar with Professor Tim Noakes, he is low-carb OG. I think he's up there probably with Finney and Volek as far as the top three that have been in the space for the longest, at least from a scientific perspective. So that's really cool. So,
you know what? I didn't know about his book that he co-wrote in 2017, Lore of Nutrition.
I didn't know about that either.
This sounds fascinating. Might need to get this. We need to add this to our book list.
Is it like a subtitle? Or?
So in it, Noakes describes his conversion to low-carbohydrate dieting, explores how the lipid hypothesis is, quote, biggest mistake in modern medicine, and details his struggles with the medical establishment.
Oh, yes.
I want to read that.
Yeah, there you go. That sounds like a good read. So that's a case, in case you weren't wondering what we were talking about. That's just a further example of how where society's at, where the information is coming from.
And how those who are speaking out are being silenced.
Right,
or
absolutely.
attempting to be silenced.
And I tell you what, I don't think that Professor Noakes regrets a single moment.
Absolutely not, I'm sure.
Not a single moment.
Why? Because he's focused on trying to help people.
Yep. Because he knows he's right.
And everybody that's in this space who is sharing information about this countercultural lifestyle is doing it for the same reason.
Yeah.
We have seen evidence
in ourselves first.
In ourselves, in those we love,
yep.
in patients, in clients, whatever walks that we're walking in, and we believe in it so deeply because we've seen it work. We've seen the stories, we've seen the success stories.
Yep.
You cannot close your eyes once your eyes have been open to it.
Yeah. The other, I almost want to say the other things that are stacked against us, but I don't think that's really the way to look at it. I think it's just another example of where this information, where society's mindset comes from, is personal trainers, nutritionists, and that kind of stuff. So we just talked about the medical establishment.
You just read my mind.
Educational establishment, things like that. But when it comes to the first line of where people go to for help,
fitness professionals
and nutritionists, right?
Yep.
I need help with this. I'm going to find a nutritionist online. And then
they're fed the same garbage.
As a doctor or their college or whatever else, right? Because they're getting their information from the same places.
Yeah, and what really burns me up is those who are out there trying to, arguing against.
Oh, my God.
No one needs to worry about gluten unless you're celiac. Everybody, don't be crazy and get rid of a whole food group. You're weird and wrong and crazy for that. And it just vilifying anybody who's trying to do something that they believe is healthy for them.
Yeah, and that's where it's really dangerous, because it's not just like when you go to the doctor, when you go to a medical institution or something like that, and they're publishing scientific papers. Those are objective, theoretically, and those are non-connected to an individual, right? So, but when you go to your trainer or you go to a nutritionist and they start making you feel bad for making choices for your own benefit, that's malpractice. That's borderline, you need to sue them. Whatever it is. I don't know what repercussions you have other than firing them.
I hate to say this because I don't believe that this is part of the problem, is that anyone who is not a registered dietitian or has this certain credential is what's the word I'm looking for? Basically,
allowed,
saying that they don't have any credibility to be able to speak about this.
Yep.
So I hate to say this, but most personal trainers have no credentials in nutrition.
They don't, and they shouldn't be talking about
nutrition. And no knowledge about nutrition.
It's absolutely outside of their purview.
That is not to say that people who do not have a nutrition credential, according to what the government says is licensed for legal purposes to practice in the United States, is not credible. Because in that case, none of us in this space would be.
Yeah. including all the doctors that you guys are listening to. Just because they have an MD doesn't mean they know about
I looked into
nutrition.
Becoming a dietitian years ago because I was so passionate about this stuff. And when I discovered what you have to go through to become a registered dietitian and understood that I would have to regurgitate back to them everything they wanted to hear that I don't believe in, that I don't believe is correct or true or healthy for people, I just couldn't reconcile it within myself to do that just to get the credential so that I can say I have that credential and then feel justified in speaking without being silenced.
So kudos to any registered dietitians or licensed dietitian nutritionists out there who are listening to this.
Michelle Hearn,
shout out to Michelle Hearn. Temple.
The ketogenic
nutritionist.
Yep.
All of you guys freaking rock.
For going
through all of that and then realizing the truth and speaking the truth regardless.
Or even what was it? Diana Rogers is the one that I attended a workshop she gave at PaleoFX back in 2016. And that was when I was thinking about, becoming a dietitian. And after attending her workshop, she just
like,
took,
nope.
It was like the buzzkill of the entire year but I'm glad I saw that side of it because she shared her experience.
Right.
Because she was already on this side of things before she did it. And she just grinned and bared it and got through it. And now she is one of the leading voices in this space and sharing truth. And she has that credential. And so it does help when somebody who is a doctor or a registered dietitian, nutritionist, nurses, can use their voice in sharing because people still have this veil of that's where the authority comes from. But we have to challenge that.
Yeah.
We have to challenge that. Read the book Lies My Doctor Told Me by Dr. Berry.
Dr. Berry. It's a great book, and it's a great example of all of the things that doctors get wrong.
And I will say, although I'm not a huge proponent on functional physicians, I have been very much a proponent of it.
You don't want to just sign up for like 8 different prescriptions supplements off of that?
I still work with a functional doctor, naturopath. I do feel strongly these days that they push supplements the way doctors push prescription pharmaceuticals. I do think it's a step in the right direction, but it is still very heavily like supplement based and not lifestyle. But they do embrace lifestyle and nutrition interventions more so. And I will say with my experience of working with multiple functional doctors over the years, their dietitians that they have on staff and nutritionists that they have on staff have seen the light. And, essentially the first time I ever walked into one of those offices and I had my sit down with a dietitian, she said, okay, well, if you're doing X, Y, and Z, because they sat down with me for 3 hours and we had actually cared to listen to my entire health history. By the time I sat down with her, she said, well, I don't have to give you the spiel that I usually have to give because you're already doing all the things that I would recommend. So they are more progressive in regards to nutrition most of the time. So if you are working only with allopathic medical doctors and they are telling you, they're giving you nutrition advice for whatever your ailment is, and it goes against what you've been trying to do, and you're second guessing yourself now because of it, please get a second opinion, get a third opinion from functional doctors, from naturopathic doctors, from dietitians who are outside of the norm. Don't settle for just one opinion and just hang your hat on that.
Yeah. And just in case, because I know this is a word that people talk about a lot, and that is what allopathic medicine actually is.
Yeah, I was going to say, I use this word. I don't know that everybody understands it.
Yeah, so basically allopathic medicine is the treatment of symptoms and not the removing the root cause of those symptoms.
Yes. Root cause is what we want to focus on. Root cause healing.
So when you go to a doctor, he gives you something so your symptoms go away.
Yep.
When you go, they may try to, if you have cancer, they may try to remove the cancer. You get chemo so that it goes into remission. You do these things.
Right, you have an injury, they want surgery.
Right, so an injury is an easy example. Okay, why did you break your leg, Johnny? Well, because I was climbing the tree. Well, maybe we should keep you from climbing the tree. right? The climbing the tree was the problem, or
teach you how to climb the tree properly.
Right, right. So climbing the tree was the problem. The doctor can't fix that. All they can do is fix the broken leg.
Yes.
And that's where we want to look at. That's where naturopaths, functional medicine doctors and naturopaths have a different focus. Is in many cases, they're actually trying to help you identify what the root cause of your problems are and address those. Now,
and they look at things systemically, so they're not just looking. It's not like going to a neurologist that's only going to look at your brain,
right?
Or going to a GI doc that's only going to look at your gastrointestinal tract. The functional doctors are looking at the entire system, how all your different body systems play together.
Yep.
So how endocrine is connected to digestive system, is connected to circulatory system, all the things. So they can make connections that specialized doctors
can't
miss most of the time.
Yeah. Okay.
We digressed a bit.
A little bit. Well, not really. I mean, we're just basically, in case you're not
diving deep.
In case you're not sure what we're talking about, we were just kind of going over some of the things in society that are demonstrations of where things have gone wrong
and why we think we're healthy when we're not.
Yeah, the general populace, where they're getting their information from, and why we have 70% of America is obese and overweight and diabetic.
So we empathize with the fact, and actually sympathize because we have been there.
Yeah.
With those who really are confused and don't understand.
Right.
Why am I so sick? Why am I dealing with this, that, and the other? And not knowing that it's even connected to your diet, to your lifestyle.
And the other aspect of why we're going through all this stuff is because we really want you to understand how different you are. We're going to get into embracing that, but we really want to build a case for you on all of the things that are currently in society right now. So when you start looking at, well, that's not what I think, that's not what I think, that's not what I think, that's not how I want to be. I want to be able to do this. I want to be able to do that. You can start putting a picture together of, I'm a fucking rebel. Right?
Yeah.
We need to come up. You know what? We need to come up with a T-shirt that uses the Rebel Alliance from Star Wars symbol, right? And it says,
"Can y'all tell he's a nerd?"
I'm not counterculture. I'm Keto-Culture. With the Rebel Alliance symbol.
Stop it. Okay, if Autumn is listening. Hint, hint,
right?
Wink,
I'm
wink.
Keto-Culture. I love that. Maybe we on the side we can put counter or something so people know what we're talking about, but I think that'd be kind of cool.
I love it.
Anywho, T-shirt, write that down.
Keto-cultural.
Keto-Culture. Okay, so the other thing is, where was I going with this? Where's my notes? Oh, the other message, in case you may have heard, and we know this one will be quick, is eat less, do more.
Yep.
We know that that's not right. We know that doesn't work. But that is the common solution that most people will give you.
And it's just caloric deficit, caloric deficit, caloric deficit, caloric deficit.
Right.
Like, what does that even mean? How does somebody even understand that? But people just yelling it.
It's all about balance.
Calories in, calories out, caloric deficit, eat less, move more.
Right. And if you're listening to this and you understand that it's not about caloric deficit, it's not about eat less, move more, it's about hormones, it's about adequate nutrition, it's about satiety, it's about nutrient density, bioavailability, and all of those things. If you understand that, you, sir, you, ma'am, are different.
And that is a good thing.
And that is a good thing. All right. So how does all this information, Nat? Tell me something. How does all this information, society is putting all this stuff out there in all these different avenues of information we talk about. What does that mean to the normal person? How has that affected how we live our day right now, day to day?
Oh my gosh. I mean, massively in many ways. What do you mean how we live our lives?
Well, I mean, so we've gotten all this information. How now when someone's making their decisions about how they live their lives, what's their lifestyle going to look like? What should they be eating? When they,
Well, okay. So there's levels to this.
Okay.
So the majority of the population is not even thinking about their health at all.
Yep.
It's just do what I've always done, do what my mom did, do what my, generationally, these habits and routines and traditions around food.
Yep.
We just do what we've seen other people doing. We
Yep.
do what the commercials tell us to do. Right? So,
What?
new flavor of Oreos came out. Right? We live our lives worshiping, if we're following the norm, if we're following culture, we worship sugar.
Yep.
Anything that tastes sweet.
Yep.
We worship anything out of a package.
Yep.
Every celebration needs to be including
food.
Not just including food. It's about the food.
Yeah, it's about the food. What are
Thanksgiving
you bringing? What are you bringing?
Is about, really, it's about the desserts. Unfortunately, it's not even a focus on the turkey.
It depends. I mean, I don't know. My family, we got some meal stuff going on.
Well,
now,
yes,
none of it's healthy. None of it's healthy.
Right.
But we
Here's
got some
the thing.
meal
It's
stuff
all
going
comfort. It's the comfort foods. It's all related around the comfort foods. It's the all of the feelings that were associated with food growing up and how this makes me feel, and grandma's pie and macaroni and cheese, and oh my gosh, when you're sick, grilled cheese and
cheese and tomato
chicken
soup.
Noodle soup or tomato soup, or just there is for any circumstance, any situation, any celebration, there is a food associated with it. Every holiday, every emotion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, you could say
sad, happy, mad.
Sad, depressed, ice cream in front of the TV. It's like there is something that is associated.
Pizza was my happy food.
For everything. Yeah, it's crazy.
Whenever something good happened, I got a promotion, something happened at work, I closed the deal, project finished, like something like that. Set a PR at the gym, whatever it was like, I'm getting pizza tonight.
Oh, and you still hear that in gyms all the time. It's about the pizza and the beer, or how about the triathletes? They literally train to do a triathlon to have pizza and beer afterwards.
Right. It's crazy. One of the things about that whole idea, right? The whole everything's about food culture is, and it drives me crazy, is how that transfers from generation to generation, and how we assume. This is one thing that drives me nuts, particularly now. Not as much because when I didn't know when I was a parent, because I said the same freaking thing as a parent, right? I want to get my kids these treats because they'll have a better time. They'll have more fun. They'll remember this event. They'll whatever it is. Like the kid's not going to remember that you took them to the amusement park unless you get them cotton candy.
Ah, yes.
Right. It's like the whole trip is worthless.
Right.
The day or 2 days you spend at the amusement park with all the games and the rides and the puppets and the mascots and other people and whatever else is going to be completely ruined unless you buy that freaking cotton candy or that slushie or that whatever else it is.
Well, how about the milestones, right? Got to get a smash cake when they turn 1.
Right.
They have to have their first taste of icing when they turn 1.
How many times do we see on Instagram or TikTok where people are videotaping their kids' first taste of ice cream or cake or pizza or
sugary things,
something like that? And it's like, it's absolutely, it drives me crazy. It absolutely drives me crazy.
Well, and herein lies the rub. And I've heard this too, that clients, I don't want to deprive my children of these things. I don't want them to feel weird and left out when they go to parties and everybody else is eating.
You're setting them up for conformity.
Exactly. And you're setting them up to have a complex about food. The same shit you've been trying to heal yourself from.
Preach.
Disordered relationship with food, where you turn to food for every emotion.
Based on everyone else's expectation.
That you're struggling with now in your 40s and 50s. You are now creating that same problem in your child that they are not going to be able to shed until maybe they're in their 50s or 60s.
Yeah, what you're telling guys, this may be hard to hear. When you say that you don't want your kids to be different by what they eat and the food you provide for them to eat, what you are teaching your child is that their health and care is less important than fitting in.
Oh. Ooh.
Okay? You are telling your child that you are more concerned with what the other teachers and parents and kids think of you as a parent.
Wow.
Than your own kids' health and safety. Okay? Think about that. What are you setting your kids up for?
Let that sink in.
Okay? Your kids are the most precious things you have in your life. Take care of them.
Wow.
Okay?
That's powerful.
All right. We talked about all the different things that are going on in society.
Here's the other thing. Your kids will learn to think for themselves.
Oh my God,
if you set that example.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I had an amazing call with a client the other day, and it just tugged at my heartstrings. And she was talking about how her daughter is very different from her in terms of, what she wants to wear and all of these things, and how it can be really hard to let her daughter have her own style and develop her own style and do what she wants to do, because it's so different than what she was raised with and how she, what she would want. And she is boldly going where many parents do not go, and allowing her daughter to develop her own identity and her own style and her own. And what she said to me was so powerful. I have to say it here. She said, I would rather my daughter feel confident than feel pretty. I was just like, yes, you are the answer. You are the antidote. To have the courage to not only but to teach your children how to be their own people.
Yeah.
And you do that by setting the example.
Right.
By being your own person and not conforming to the masses.
Absolutely. And so rolling right into that, not conforming into the masses, we just spent an hour talking about
how do we do it?
Where is society at? What is the bias towards being unhealthy? Where is it coming from? All that kind of stuff. How does that affect us in our daily lives? Let's talk about how are we different? How do we maintain that identity as being different and being, so guys, I have a word I want you to look up, and it's called antithetical. That's the word. I want you to be antithetical to the paradigms that currently exist in society today. Okay? Directly opposed to what is going on in society today.
Antithetical.
You're going to see that word more often.
You're going to see that a lot.
A lot. But it's just the idea that being different is bad. Get that out of your head.
Yep.
Because it's not even about being different. I want you to think about doing what's best for yourself, similar to another talk that we had recently where we talked about self-love, and how loving yourself is not just affirming yourself all the time. It's understanding your value and not allowing other people or external forces to determine what's best for you. Okay?
Boom.
So if you truly want to love yourself, then by definition, you ignore anybody who is not directly involved with your health. And guess what? That's just you.
Yep. You're the only one making the decisions. This is a powerful thing to consider, is that evolutionarily, fitting in was safe. It kept us from danger. It was something that was hardwired into us, this desire to fit in, because if we were shunned, if we stood out from the pack, we were in danger of losing our lives from predators in the wild.
Yep.
Right? So, but today, the pendulum has swung to the extent that fitting in is
A death sentence.
Signing up for sickness, illness, early death. So now, to be able to be safe and healthy and successful, we actually have to take the risk of stepping outside the pack and standing out from the pack. So if your goal has been to fit in, and first of all, I commend you with all the steps you're taking with the discomfort, because there's going to be a level of discomfort when you are doing something different.
Blazing your own
separating
trail.
yourself. And I can say from my own journey, every time that I have regressed and fallen off the wagon, so to speak, gone back to eating junk, I got very sick very quick within the first month or two. And after 3 months, it was like my health did a 180 right back to where it was before I embraced this lifestyle. Never took long for it to happen. But every time it happened, it was because I let it get in my head that I was different and wanting to fit in, letting that wanting to fit in and be like everybody else lead me back down the wrong path.
We see it all the time. Yeah.
Every single time I came back to this lifestyle, it was because I remembered that that is not what I want, that I don't want to be like everyone else. I don't want to be sick, chronically ill, unhappy, depressed, and going through life with blinders on. I want to stand out. I want to be different. I want to be my best self.
Yeah. I actually had a client last week talking about him going to, I don't know, like a reunion or something like that. And he had just the idea, and I don't know when it happened, when he scheduled the event or when he decided to go, whatever. But the minute he decided to go to this event, he resigned himself. He knew, I'm going to go and I'm going to completely go off plan. The idea that he was going to go surround himself with people from his past life, and party his butt off for a weekend because that's just what they do, right? That he's going to have weeks to recover from 1 or 2 days of just binging, right? Drinking, eating, who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, and choosing to
do that to himself. And understanding that the identity that he's trying to create for himself does not have to change because of an event.
Right? Or because of who he's around.
Or because of who you're around. And that's hard. And so the idea that, and this, you talk about discomfort, the idea that in the pursuit of being different, because here's the deal, guys, we would love for you to listen to this podcast and just be okay with being different.
Yeah.
I want you to embrace it, love it, and live it. Okay?
Embody it.
So guess what? That's not easy.
No.
Because that's going to mean you have to let people go. There are people in your life who will not allow you, or not want to, they don't have a choice, but they're going to try to not allow you to be the best version of yourself.
Oh yeah, crabs in a barrel,
right?
Man.
They're going to pull you back down. They're going to pull you back down. So you may have to let people go.
When you decide to do something that's against the grain, that is good for you, that now allows you to create some sort of success in your life, and this applies to so much more than health and fitness. This applies to anything else. When you start getting successful financially, you start getting successful in love, in all these different areas of life, the people around you who don't have what you are gaining will feel some kind of way because it's a mirror for them about what they don't have, and it makes them feel bad. So they will try to pull you down or criticize or make fun or even make you feel left out or whatever.
Yep.
If you're getting that kind of response from people, it's probably because it's striking a nerve with them. It has nothing to do with you.
Yeah. And we're not talking about ghosting people. We're not talking about being rude about the process, but just understand that they're letting somebody go in your life can be as simple as having a conversation saying, look, this is where I'm going, and I would love for you to let me make these changes without trying to influence me. Respect my decisions, and please don't say these things or do these things. I'm trying to improve X, Y, or Z. And give them a choice. There may be times where, you know what, there's somebody who you just don't return any text messages back from.
You spend less and less time together.
Start spending less and less time then. And it might not even be the person individually, but it may be, you know what, I only hang out with these people on Sundays when I go watch the game at the bar.
Oh my gosh.
So maybe I don't need to go to the bar and watch the game anymore. Maybe I can watch the game from home.
Okay, so I have a statement that you may need to prepare yourself for. And then I have a exercise you can do, a practice you can do to help with this. Okay, so first, if there is someone in your life or multiple people in your life that you think that it makes you worried or scared to have a conversation with like that, like Coach Bronson just said, to sit down and communicate with them about what your goals are and what you need from them. The needs that you have to feel respected. If you fear having that conversation with that person,
here it comes.
That person does not need to be in your life. Because
it's already not a good relationship.
You should be able to express what you need from another person.
Yep.
In basic human decency, a level of respect. And if you're afraid to have that conversation with that person, that means deep down inside you already know that person doesn't respect you or would not respect your wishes. Why would you want to associate with a person who doesn't have any respect for you?
Yeah, I totally get it.
Or wouldn't respect your wishes. And this is really tough because I know for some people that's your spouse.
Yeah. Yeah. And if it is your spouse, there's some work that you have to acknowledge that needs to be done. We talk about awareness all the time, and this is something, okay. All right. In a relationship, your ability to confront challenges and the strength of your relationship is only tested when you're trying to change the status quo. If you are not ever changing, you may never know there's a problem.
You're probably enabling one another.
You're probably enabling one another. You're probably not communicating very well. You're probably not being honest with each other about what you each need from each other.
Unmet
There's a
needs.
lot of unmet needs. Okay? Too many times, relationships fail because at least one party thinks everything's fine.
There are assumptions being made, yeah.
And there's no communication.
Yep.
And things aren't fine until you make a change, which was what's happening. If you're in a relationship right now and you're the one in the relationship and you're like, I'm not happy with my life. I want to make a change. I want to improve my physical freedom. I want to improve my health. I want to improve my confidence. Whatever it may be, I want to just feel better, not be in pain all the time.
Yeah.
There are changes that you're going to have to make in your life that are going to affect your spouse.
Yes.
You need to be able to communicate with that person about those changes and how it's going to affect them. What are the things? Here's the deal. What are the things that you need from them, and what are the things that they need from you in order to make these changes work between the both of you? And if you have kids, how does it affect the kids, and what can you guys do together to make it work for the kids? Okay? This is a mistake that I have seen people make. I'm making changes to make myself better. You need to support me. And then that's the end of the conversation. Well, if you're making a change and you're requiring your spouse to make a change, then guess what? He or she needs something from you too.
Yep.
It's a two-way street. You can't say I'm changing and then expect them to do all of the adjustment
to just adjust
to what you're doing. You have to find a way to make it as simple, as approachable and accessible and as least disruptive as possible for everybody involved. Mm-hmm. If you're in a relationship and you have a family. So just something to think about.
Ultimately, it's okay. And here's the exercise. This is a good tie-in for the exercise I want to give you. A few years back, it was a Tim Ferriss. So Tim Ferriss wrote the 4-Hour Work Week. He's got massive podcasts. You know, if you haven't heard of Tim Ferriss, I don't know where you've been. But I learned this from him. It was something that he does every New Year's. And it was a New Year's practice I did. I think it was back in 2018. And I wrote a list of everything over the past year. And I went through my calendar to remind myself, where I was and what I was doing in each month, each week of the year. This is what he recommended. Wrote down all of the things. I had a list of all of the things that brought me good energy, made me feel the most amazing, just all of the things that were serving me, all of the good, right? All of the good energy stuff in the year. And then I had a list of all of the negatives, all of the things that brought me down, made me feel my worst. And these lists included people. So as this relates to the social circle part of this conversation, you could do this list with just the people who brought you all, the good things, the joy, the energy, the positivity, and all of the people who brought you into your most negative place throughout the year. And you can do this with things, with people, with experiences, all of that. You circle like the top 5 in each column. And then you make a concerted effort in the new year to spend more time on the things and the people that brought you the most joy, the most positive energy. And cut down on the time or completely cut out the things that were most negative to you in that year. Now, here's the caveat. If those people on the negative list were the people closest to you, we're talking your parent, your spouse, your child, maybe a sibling, the people you live with, I would say, first and foremost. If it's somebody that you live with and you spend a lot of time with that person, there is going to need to be some work on the communication side, because you can't just cut this person out of your life just like that. If it's an associate, if it's a friend, if it's someone you don't see as often, you're not forced to be around all the time, that's not a partner in your life, you could just make the decision. I made a decision in 2018, and there's somebody that was on that list I haven't spoken to since. And it's powerful when you recognize that, that person has never reached out to me in the 5 years since then. So I don't think that I was missing anything.
Right, exactly.
But it was a person who, when I spent time with that person, I was doing unhealthy behaviors. And it just made me realize that every time I'm in that social environment, it is taking away from me living my best life, me being my best self, feeling my best, and then it's taking me days to recover. So very much like the gentleman you were talking about who went into that environment. So you really have to ask yourself, it has to be you have to weigh these decisions. Some of these are not light decisions to make. Right. It's just like if you're completely miserable in your job, you have to ask yourself, well, am I willing to stay in this miserable situation and try to make myself happier within it? What can I do within it to improve it? Or is it so to the point where there's nothing that can be done to improve it and I need to leave?
Yeah. So embracing your identity means change, accepting change. Embracing your identity means all of it's really, it's crazy, the corollary that we talk about, just the process of change and improving yourself has all of these same things, because it's not really just the process of improvement, it's the process of becoming who you want to become.
Yes.
That's really what it is. So if you want all of these things that you say you want, we talk about defining your why, aligning with your values, making sure that the choices you make actually align with who you are and what you want to be and what you believe in, what your beliefs about the world and life are. Mm-hmm. All of these things, there's some level that's not living that. So you need to change those things so that you're now aligned and moving in that direction. And that's not easy, guys. No. We understand that it's not easy. We've been there. Yep. I've been the 70-pound overweight, out of shape, pizza eating, pad thai eating, French fry eating, Boston cream donut eating fat guy. I've been there. It's not easy to change, and it takes time.
I guess the number one advice I would give to get the ball rolling is to face the pain. I think we talked about this in a previous podcast episode, but if you don't recognize how what you're doing right now is hurting you and how it's keeping you from being who you want to be, mm-hmm. then you won't be motivated to change. Right. Because there's two motivations for change.
Feel the pain.
One is the pursuit of pleasure, and the other is the avoidance of pain.
Yeah, and the avoidance of pain is often more powerful.
More powerful, yep. Yeah. Studies have shown it's a stronger motivator.
And guys, your perception is everything. If you perceive yourself to be different, and that's a bad thing,
you will avoid being that. You'll avoid that.
I'm gonna geek out again. Another analogy. Okay, we're watching the show right now on Netflix called The Imperfects. Okay,
it's cheesy, but it's
so cheesy, but we can't stop watching it. It's about a group of teenagers, not even teenagers, a group of young adults who get powers because of some stem cell thing, whatever. They get special powers.
Scientists experimented on them.
And the current arc is them making
the
the change.
Analogy.
Making the change. They've identified these abilities. One of them turns into like a werewolf. Another one's got like they got all these problems, and it's completely destroyed their lives. But the reason it's destroyed their lives is because of their perception about the change.
They think they're monsters.
They call themselves monsters. They look at themselves as being not human. And it's a negative. They're looking at all the reasons
disrupting their life.
Right. They're looking at all the negative about the whole process. Now, the current arc of the show is they're now starting to realize, wait a second, we have powers. We can do really cool stuff.
And embracing the power allows them to control it.
Hey, there it is.
And use it.
There it is.
And now they can use it for good things.
Yes, or bad things, but
they could choose. You know what? The quote that was so powerful from the other episode we were watching was, it was something like your DNA or your cells don't make you a monster.
Monsters. Your actions do.
Your actions do.
Yeah.
So they could choose to be monsters.
Yep.
Or they could choose to be superheroes.
Exactly. And that's why this analogy is fantastic. We take it right back to the beginning, right? Your perception on where you fit in society can make you a monster. It can make you a hero. Which one do you want to be?
Be your own superhero.
Hope that was helpful, guys. Definitely want to hear from you. You had something you wanted to ask everybody?
Oh, yes. So if there are specific things related to this topic that you're struggling with, if you are, struggling with the social aspect, fitting in specific situations, share them with us, and we'll do another episode on this and give you some really specific, practical tips that you can use in those situations to overcome, to be the superhero in that particular instance.
All right. Yeah, if you have any ideas, let us know. And then any other topics as well. If there's anything you guys are interested in hearing us talk about, or just want to know our opinions on stuff, maybe one of these days we should do like a grab all, like just a general Q&A.
Yeah.
And just have a bunch of different topics.
Yeah.
We can collect like 10 or 15 or 20 different things people are asking.
Send us anything that you're seeing out there in the space and it's confusing you and you want to hear more about it. And we'll do a Q&A.
I wonder, I'm getting ambitious. I'm wondering if we can set up a camera in here and do like a live with the two of us.
That
like
would be
Q&A
cool.
and do an episode
Q&A.
that way.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm down.
Stay in touch, guys. You know where to get a hold of us. The Keto Bikini Pro for Coach Nat and what is mine? Coach_Bronson_Keto on Instagram.
He has to be complicated.
I do have to be complicated. Because I'm a complicated kind of guy.
Ultimate Ketogenic Fitness on YouTube.
And everywhere else. Everywhere else is there. I had to make
everything
Instagram
else
different, right? Yeah.
Well, because it's you.
Right. It's my Instagram page.
Yes.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you guys next time. In the meantime,
eat, live, sleep, and repeat.
Take it easy.